שלום שלום, ברוכים הבאים לפרק ה-20 של Fakeland, הפודקאסט של המכון למחקרי ביטחון לאומי וקרן קונרד אדנאואר, שעוסק בכל מה שהוא מעבר לטילים במלחמות וגם בעת שלום, ואלה כמובן המילים. המאזינים הקבועים וגם הצופים הקבועים כבר יודעים כי אנחנו הפודקאסט היחיד בישראל שעוסק באופן קבוע בדיסאינפורמציה, בפייק, בפוסט אמת וגם בסכנות שמהוות הרשתות החברתיות לדמוקרטיה הישראלית, אבל לא רק לה. בפרק הזה אנחנו מארחים אישיות בכירה מטייוואן, מדינה שמתמודדת גם היא עם מבצעי השפעה חמורים מצד סין בעיקר. טייוואן לקחה את הנושא הזה מאוד ברצינות, ובמדינה יש שרה שכל ייעודה הוא עיסוק במאבק נגד מבצעי השפעה ונגד הפצת דיסאינפורמציה שמשפיעה על הזירה הציבורית. אודרי טנג היא שרת הדיגיטל הראשונה של טייוואן, שמסיימת בימים אלה 8 שנים בתפקיד. תכף נשוחח עם אודרי טנג, אבל לפני כן נאמר שלום לדורון פלדמן, דוקטורנט בבית הספר למדע המדינה וממשל וחוקר בסדנת יובל נאמן למדע, טכנולוגיה וביטחון באוניברסיטת תל אביב. דורון, מה אנחנו צריכים לדעת על המלחמה שבין טייוואן ובין סין במגרש התודעתי, ומה שונה הדרך שבה טייוואן מתמודדת עם האתגר הזה?
כן, אז שלום רב, תודה רבה על ההזדמנות להיות כאן. אז קודם כל, כשאנחנו מדברים על לוחמת הרשת, הסייבר והדיסאינפורמציה של סין נגד טייוואן, אנחנו צריכים להבין בעצם שמדובר במאמץ כולל של סין לבודד את טייוואן, הן מבחינה כלכלית, לכפות עליה, להטיל עליה לחצים כלכליים, לבודד אותה מדינית, וכמובן להפעיל עליה לחץ צבאי, שזה אומר שסין במשך שנים די ארוכות בונה יכולות צבאיות משמעותיות על מנת להשאיר לעצמה את היכולת לפלוש לטייוואן, והדבר הזה כמובן מתלווה לתרגילים צבאיים ולכניסות של כלי טיס סינים לאזורים שמסביב לאי בסין. ואשר באמת ללוחמת הרשת, לוחמת הסייבר המשולבת, לוחמת הדיסאינפורמציה של סין, אז אפשר לומר שיש לה 4 מטרות עיקריות. הדבר הראשון שבעצם גורמים פרו-סינים מנסים לעשות נגד טייוואן, זה ליצור איזושהי תחושת פחד וטרור קבועים בקרב אזרחי טייוואן. זה מקושר לאותו קונספט מוכר, קונספט הלוחמה הקוגניטיבית, שפיתח צבא סין לא מעט שנים, והרעיון הוא באמת לטעת בתושבי טייוואן את התחושה שאיחוד עם סין הוא בלתי נמנע, ואם איחוד עם סין הוא בלתי נמנע, אז בסופו של דבר מדוע להתנגד. 2,
וזה עובד אגב? המסר הזה נקלט?
אני אשמח להתייחס לזה בסוף. האם בעצם ניתן לאמוד את מידת היעילות של מבצעי ההשפעה של סין נגד טייוואן. אז רק חשוב לי פשוט לסיים קודם כל את שאר הנקודות. אז הנקודה השנייה, שבעצם מה שסין מנסה להשיג דרך אותה לוחמת דיסאינפורמציה, זה להעמיק את השסעים והמתחים האתניים, התרבותיים והחברתיים שקיימים בחברה הטייוואנית. מדובר במידה רבה, בדומה לישראל, בחברה מאוד מאוד מגוונת, יש בה עשרות שבטים, תרבויות שונות, מערביות, בין השאר כמובן גם תרבויות, זאת אומרת שטייוואן ספגה כתוצאה מהשלטונות הזרים ששלטו בה, היפנים, הסינים ואחרים, ברבות השנים, וגם כמובן כתוצאה מהמתחים הפוליטיים. יש שם בטייוואן 2 תנועות פוליטיות בולטות, ועוד תנועה נוספת יחסית חדשה שצמחה בשנים האחרונות, ככה מעין תנועת מרכז, שבעיקר הצעירים מזוהים איתה. אז ככה על הדבר הזה הסינים מנסים לפרוט ומה שנקרא למנף את המקסימום שהם יכולים לעשות, וכמובן התקשורת בטייוואן היא מאוד מאוד חופשית, אחת בעצם מהמדינות החופשיות בעולם, גם מבחינת כלי תקשורת מסורתיים, מדיה מסורתית, וגם מבחינת כמובן פעילות של רשתות חברתיות. כמעט אין רגולציה, והדבר הזה בעצם משמש כאיזשהו קר פורה לפעילות של גורמים פרו-סינים כאלה ואחרים. אז זה הנקודה השנייה. הנקודה השלישית, שהמטרות של לוחמת הדיסאינפורמציה של סין, זה כמובן להוביל לפגיעה מתמשכת באמון של תושבי טייוואן במוסדות ובשיטה הדמוקרטית, ובסופו של דבר לנסות להביא לבחירה של מועמד לנשיאות, נשיא, שיהיה מה שנקרא מוכן לקדם דיאלוג, שלא נאמר פייסנות, קו פייסני, כלפי סין. מבחינתה של סין זה כמובן נוח, מדובר בתנועת ה-KMT, שהיא ככה התנועה המסורתית יותר, ששלטה בטיואן שנים רבות, מה שהיה בזמנו הרפובליקה הסינית, ובסופו של דבר הובילה את המדינה לדמוקרטיזציה, אבל היא נחשבת לתנועה פוליטית שככה יותר קרובה בעמדות האידיאולוגיות והתרבותיות שלה לסין היבשתית. ומגמה נוספת שנצפתה ככה בשנים האחרונות, וביתר שאת בבחירות שנערכו בתחילת השנה, בחירות לנשיאות בטיואן, זה ניסיון לפגוע ולערער את הדימוי של ארצות הברית, כבעלת הברית כמובן המרכזית של טיואן, בהיותה בעלת ברית אמינה שניתן יהיה לסמוך עליה. ולכן ראינו, ואנחנו רואים ברשתות, כל מיני סיפורים שמנסים לפגוע באותה תדמית של ארצות הברית. אז זה ככה מבחינת 4 המטרות העיקריות, הייתי אומר.
4 מטרות, ואני שואל אותך לפני שאני עובר לאודי טנג, האם הטיוואנים בעיניך, מנקודת המבט שלנו, הישראלית, עושים עבודה טובה? כי ממה שאני יודע, הם לא יושבים ומחכים שהסינים יעשו מה שבא להם.
חד וחלק. זאת אומרת, טיואן מבינה שהדיסאינפורמציה ברשתות, היא כאן, והיא תישאר והיא תתגבר ותחריף, בטח בעידן של הבינה המלאכותית והבינה המלאכותית היוצרת, שמאפשרת לשפר את היעילות, את התפוצה ואת התחכום של אותם מבצעי השפעה שסין מבצעת. אז הטיואנים עושים עבודה טובה מאוד. אני חושב שהאסטרטגיה הממשלתית היא אסטרטגיה שלישראל יש הרבה מאוד מה ללמוד ממנה וליישם, כמובן בהתאמות למציאות ולמקרה הישראלי, כי בכל זאת כמובן שיש הבדלים בין החברה בישראל לבין החברה הטיואנית, למרות קווי הדמיון הרבים.
אוקיי, המון תודה דורון פלדמן על העדכון הזה, על הפתיחה הזו. אנחנו עוברים עכשיו לשיחה עם אודי טנג. תודה דורון. Minister Audrey Tang, thank you so much for joining us. It's an honor to have you with us. You just ended a long tenure as the Minister for Digital Affairs in Taiwan. Many things have changed during these years, mainly in the digital area, and the dangers that come with that.
Yes, I was digital minister in 2016 already, and the Ministry of Digital Affairs established in 2022, hot on the heels of the Kiev, the Russia's unprovoked assault on Ukraine. And so everything has changed since then. People have now truly realized that in the cyberspace, there's no like the neighborhood of distance, there is only neighborhood of values. So we're really happy to join you to talk about democracy, plurality, and similar values.
Well, how is the Taiwanese democracy due to the fact that the Chinese are trying to, to bash you all the time?
Well, we have a very strong democracy. The voter turnout for the January election was over 70%. We have 3 major parties in the parliament, none of which has over a majority. And the polarization, meaning how people hate each other across parties, is at a historic level. So I would say that our democracy is functioning very healthily. And in a sense, the polarization, the foreign information manipulation and interference, or FIMI attacks, actually strengthens our antibody. According to the VDEM research, for the past decade, Taiwan has been on the top of the volume received on the receiving end for those FIMI attacks. But once people understand that, oh, it comes from a foreign source and so on, it actually unites us across party lines.
Yeah, how deep has China infiltrated the public debate in your country?
Have you heard of the English word reunification?
Yeah, of course.
Sometime PRC, the Beijing regime used that word. But the Beijing regime, the PRC, has never ruled Taiwan for one day. So the re part of reunification is information manipulation. It's without meaning, right? Because when you say you reunify, it means that at some point PRC ruled Taiwan, but that was just not true, right? So that is one message that you often see on the international conversations. The other one, of course, is the superiority of authoritarian regimes. For example, in 2020, you often hear that democracy only leads to chaos and only the lockdown, top-down, shutdown can contain the virus. That was a popular narrative back in 2020. Of course, now the epidemic is over. We have seen that Taiwan, New Zealand, many places, and Israel actually did very well without going into the authoritarian mode. So that got debunked. But over and over again, what we hear is always this idea that democracy only leads to chaos. Democracy only leads to polarization. Democracy never delivers. That is the overarching narrative.
That's actually trying to brainwash the citizens in a democratic country, telling them, listen, you are living in a chaos.
And polarization really is not about supporting this party or that party. It is about making the parties hate each other, making sure that people only take the most extreme views, and so on. And the online and more antisocial part of social media fuels that polarization. So instead of polarization, we need to embrace this idea of plurality, meaning pluralism of ideas, but also building bridges across different cultures, different languages, and so on, so that people can see, for example, during our counting process in our January election, everyone can just film the entire counting process, which is paper only, but we use digital technology, high broadband bandwidth, and so on, to ensure that when the inevitable disinformation attacks about the counting process occurs, all the three parties' leaders can come out and say, no, we have people recording the whole process. It is being watched by the entire participatory regime, and no evidence concludes that it was something like the disinformation attack has said. Of course, eventually, the prosecutors, the investigation bureau did find the people who doctor those films. But even before that investigation was done, people already have antibody in their mind because the party members that they trust have already witnessed that counting process. And so it is debunked across party lines.
Can you point out the most dangerous platform for democracy today? Like everybody's talking about TikTok, for example, as one of the most devastating platforms there is.
Well, in terms of the user base, in many Western countries, TikTok has over 50% market penetration, meaning that there's more people on TikTok compared to people who's not on TikTok, right? In Taiwan, we're doing slightly better. We only have about a quarter of our population installing TikTok, and only about 1/10 of that consider TikTok to be their main platform. So just about 4%, 3% of people. So in Taiwan, mostly people realize that TikTok is a product harmful to cybersecurity, or harmful product, as we call it. We have banned its use in public sector for 4 years now, and in schools and so on. So people generally understand that if you use TikTok, you use it with caution. And so that is partly why Taiwan does not have that much penetration rate for TikTok compared to other Western countries.
But you find it a dangerous tool that the Chinese are using?
Well, we already said it's a harmful product for cybersecurity. And in our upcoming Cybersecurity Management Act draft, there is this definition. Basically, for foreign sources who control a entity, that entity may be in, I don't know, Cayman Islands or somewhere else, and for that entity to control such a software or hardware or a service and so on. So indirect control by foreign adversaries is part of the definition, not the only definition, but a sufficient condition for a harmful product. And of course, TikTok is a harmful product.
Yeah, well, there is a dilemma in democracies whether to regulate or not the discussions on online. That's a very harsh dilemma because we wouldn't like governments to tell us what to write or what to read. So how do you deal with this dilemma in Taiwan?
But this is not about a content moderation. You just said something about content. But exactly the same video, if you post it on YouTube or you post it on Instagram, that is no problem because Meta, that company, or Google have set up the local team. They have a local representative, and when we have conversations with them and so on, they do send representatives and delegates and so on. So in a sense, it is not about content. Exactly the same content, exactly the same conversation can happen. What we're talking about, the cybersecurity angle, is how much control the foreign adversary has on this particular product, regardless of the content on it.
Now, when you talk about how to react, right? I understood from some very smart people here in Israel that represent Taiwan, the ambassador herself, that you are reacting to fake news and to disinformation that is being monitored in 2 hours from the second you know about it, right? It's a policy. How do you do that?
It was referring to a few years ago in 2018, 2019, when I was digital minister in the cabinet. We have this two policy. And the idea is that within 2 hours, there needs to be 2 pictures and each associated with 200 characters or so, very short text, to ensure that whenever there is anything that needs clarification, we clarify it within the same news cycle. And because it comes from the government, for most people, it actually is faster. So even though that we issue the debunking later, it actually reaches the majority of people faster, which would not be true if it is like 4 hours or 6 hours after the fact. So this 2-2-2 principle have served us well. And for the January election, we shortened that to 1 hour. So anytime that you see there is something that needs clarification, we roll out clarification within 60 minutes.
Yeah. Now, what are the most effective steps that you have been taking to combat influence operations vis-a-vis China, or what can you tell us that works? Because in many ways we are trying to understand, to figure out what is the right way, what's the right path to walk on.
Yes, debunking works to a degree, but what really works is pre-bunking. Pre-bunking means that even when something did not happen, you already tell the people it's going to happen, and here is what you should know about it. One example, even before this deepfake AI, generative AI, GPT, 2 years ago, I filmed myself with the help from the Board of Science and Technology Office, a deepfake video of myself telling people, and it's an actor playing me, telling the people something and pretending to be me. And then people finally see how that deepfake is made. And then I tell people that soon there will be AI technologies that makes it indistinguishable, and it can run on laptops, it can run anywhere. And so it becomes almost impossible just by the likeness or the voice alone to tell that this is someone, a celebrity or a politician. And so even before the technology got there, we roll out these pre-bunking video. And this year, I also recorded a popular YouTube course and telling people that now with generative AI, a single robot can pretend to be 10,000 people, and each with their own life history. If you click their profile, you see them interacting very normally. But then when something happens, they would just go there and have a conversation and astroturf, that is to say, pretend that there is a general likeness or general unlikeness of things, but really it's just a single bot using generative AI. Indeed, before that happened, we rolled out this message telling the people that this is about to happen. So for people who have seen it, it inoculates their mind, defends their mind. And now we're asking, for example, for advertisements, digital signatures need to be placed in order to tell this celebrity that's fake and a celebrity that's really authenticated by themselves. That is in an upcoming draft law of the Anti-Fraud Act.
So it's a lot about education, actually. And, you know, people tend to be discouraged when they think about the fact that so many bots and so many avatars are taking, you know, the place of normal people with normal thoughts. And then you say, if you teach people, young people, how to read correctly what they see or how to watch correctly what they see, then it can change the perspective and then people can fight back. Is it correct?
Yes. Yes, in Taiwan, we have a very strong grassroots fact-checking system. And very young people, junior high school and so on, in their civics class, in their media competence class, we say competence because it's about co-creating, not just literacy, which is about consuming. So once they become competent like journalists, they can fact check the 3 presidential candidates as part of their debate or platform and so on. And when the junior high school students start thinking like journalists, it safeguards their mind, because once you think like a journalist, checking the sources, balancing the views and so on, you cannot get that easily captured by this outrage or this emotion or things like that of the rhetorics. And once they have contributed, for example, to the collaborative fact-checking, COFAX ecosystem, they also can help their friends and families and so on to contribute online. And so when everybody contributes, it's just like participatory counting in the election process. There's the general antibody within the mind, and there's no way for FIMI to grow.
Yeah, let's talk about cooperation, international cooperation, because it's pretty important. First of all, do you think that a single democracy, every country, can tackle this problem alone, or we should go to international cooperation between the democracies, liberal democracies all over the world, because we can't beat the system if we work alone?
I think on the internet, as I said, we're naturally neighbors if we're both liberal democracies. So it is not about how many kilometers or miles we are away, because just like in cybersecurity, when a virus, when a cyber attack hits our system, as long as you use the same system, the next minute maybe it's you, right? So just like in cybersecurity, we need to have threat indicators sharing. We need to jointly run drills. We need to understand what each other's playbooks are. We need to use the same framework because, for example, we use the word FIMI, which is a framework that's defined in the European Union, and more people use that word simply because not many of these are fake. Nowadays, the polarization attacks do not use factually untrue sentiments. They mostly just amplify the most extreme views. So calling them FIMI is more accurate than calling them fake news, for example.
Yeah. So let's try to sum up just a little bit of what we have heard. There is need to cooperate between countries, right, with the same values. We need to have technology that counterattacks in some way with the facts. And we need to educate young people, and not only young people, to learn how to read the new world. So the combination
and also contribute to let the young people teach us, not just we teaching the young people. Some of the many young people in Taiwan collaborating on the COFAX platform work internationally already. There is the COFAX community in Thailand, which was started by learning from the Taiwanese network. But now they have thousands of people, young and old, sharing the art of fact-checking in a community spirit with songs and dance and all that, right? So make it a popular culture to participate in collaborative diversity or plurality. And this is how you can counter polarization.
So actually it's mind-blowing when I hear it, because I never thought about it. You made facts cool again.
Exactly. Make facts great again. Yes.
You make facts great again. That's unbelievable. Because, you know, you remember Kellyanne Conway, President Trump's, right hand, saying, well, there are alternative facts. And you shouldn't, make a fuss about this fact. Now we have to go back and tell people, no, there are no alternative facts. The cool thing is to stick to the facts themselves.
The cool thing is to stick to the facts and contribute to the community. On Twitter or now X.com, there's this system called community notes. It's open source. Everybody can contribute. It's like jury duty. I have signed up on community notes. And you often see that even though people start polarized, but people who are for the Republicans or for the Democrats or so on, can often agree about facts on the community node system, because the system gives the voice to the ideas that speaks across the ideological divide. It gives what we call a bridging bonus, to make the bonus to the bridge makers that can come up with something that's factual, that is of help to both sides of people. So the more that we build technologies on the idea of plurality or collaborative diversity, the better we are to heal the society that was previously divided across ideological or party lines.
That's a very cool way to tackle this problem, because if we bring in the young people, then we have an army of those devoted to bring out the facts and not the lies. I'd like to go back to your way to respond on the spot to disinformation when you find out about it, because it's super interesting, because we are talking about cultural changes and usually it takes time. But if you are on the spot, you monitor and then you respond to fake news, to disinformation, then you may have an impact that destroys the lie. Take me back
and
there.
For most people,
let's go back there.
For most people, they see it before they see the manipulation, right? Because if you're just 1 hour later, but you reach more people, then those people also spread this clarification on behalf of you. And so even though that you may be 1 hour later, you end up reaching the majority of population faster if your message is clear enough. And if you go to my Twitter, you will see that I have my likeness, the photos taken of me doing all the memes, right? Like this, or like whatever, right? And so anytime there needs to be a new meme picture, the team, when I was digital minister, can just manufacture a picture of me with a very funny post explaining about the clarification. So this is what we call humor over rumor, and it reaches more people than the disinformation.
Well, that's unbelievable. So you became the model, the superstar, the presenter of facts, of truth. Actually, in a post-truth era, you became the guy. You became the person that is representing the other side, the right side. Yeah, and how do people connect to this?
If you go to threads.net, you can see people tagging me all the time. And I sometimes reply with a picture of me. Sometimes I reply with a voice and I read poetry and so on. So the idea is to respond in the here and now. Whenever people feel that, I don't know what Audrey will think about this and so on threads.net, they just tag me. And then I oftentimes just respond in the here and now. And so again, this is about shortening the distance, reducing the latency from the people having questions and us giving a honest answer. Because if that void is not filled, then there is room for information manipulation attack to enter. But if you always respond honestly in the here and now, there's no room for these to enter.
Okay, so Israel and Taiwan. Just, let's try to map the way we can collaborate. We have the Russians and we have the Iranians and we have Hezbollah and we have Hamas, and we have so many enemies that are willing to to try and destabilize Israeli democracy. China is, they are not focused on us, but how can we cooperate these days?
When I visited Tel Aviv, I think I learned also a lot from your way of building a iron dome, right, against foreign cyber attacks. And it is, again, all about threat assessment, threat indicator sharing, and also of this fast response. I remember you having a line like 119 or something that people can call for cybersecurity issues and gets responses from here and now and so on. So I think all these are great ideas that we can think about in Taiwan how to implement. And our ideas like pre-bunking, like this humorous responses in 1 hour or 2 hours and so on are, I'm sure, that's something that Israelis can also learn as well.
All right. So now we have technology that we know the dangers that we are facing. Like, you know, we have bots and avatars and Meta, and we have Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. Okay, that's for now. Now the new big enemy is coming in. It's named AI.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share what you have learned about AI in politics, in public debate till now?
Mm-hmm. Sure. I mean, one of the main danger, and I already talked about it, is for people to, in very low cost, synthesize thousands of accounts, and each of those accounts look like real persons. So not just imposter of celebrities, but also manufactured profiles that looks like they're interacting normally, right? So when there's a debate, when you see hundreds and thousands of people having comments and sharing their thoughts and so on, maybe it's not thousands of people, it's just one robot pretending to be thousands of people. And if you go to my threads.net account, digitalminister.one, you can see my pinned post is talking about exactly this scenario. So to counter this, we need a strong digital signature. And as I mentioned, Taiwan has a draft act, the Anti-Fraud Act, that requires those large platforms like Facebook, like Google, to require digital signatures so that you can see that this advertiser is actually this person, and there's no way for one person with one digital signature to pretend to be 10,000 different advertisers or influencers.
Yeah, well, interesting, super interesting. We are living in dangerous times, right? For democracies.
It's interesting times, right?
Yeah, interesting.
It's an
well,
existential opportunity. Yeah, I mean, in Taiwan we have earthquakes. Recently, a very large earthquake, but compared to the similar magnitude earthquake 25 years ago, this time we were quite resilient. The damage was a fraction of what it was around the turn of century, and we got most of the internet back with the help of low Earth orbit satellite receivers and so on. My point being that we know earthquake is coming at all times. Every day there's like 3 felt earthquakes somewhere in Taiwan on average, but we don't know when the next big one will come. So it is this awareness that lets us build more resilient architecture, to improve our building codes, to build resilient internet access, and so on. And so similarly, we don't know what the next wave, like you say, the next big one is AI, but what's next after this generation of generative AI, right? So, so we need to prepare, not in a kind of we're doomed kind of way, but to start acting here and now to anticipate and to pre-bunk those possible threats.
Yeah, well, the good news are that there are people like you and your country that are really tackling this problem seriously. We do hope that we will cooperate between countries, because that's super important to be on the right side of history. And the right side of history is the side of the facts and the truths and the fact that we know what is wrong and what is right. And sometimes people get confused sometimes, but we have this almost obligation to be on the forefront and to debunk all these lies, because without this we won't have democracy. Well, Minister Audrey Tang, it was a great pleasure talking to you. I would like to invite you to the INSS and to Tel Aviv, and to visit us. And I'm sure that we should cooperate, and we have to cooperate in order to save our future, right?
Yes, definitely. We need digital solidarity. We need to build bridges across the liberal democracy so we can free the future together. Thank you for your invitation. I will make sure to visit, hopefully this year, if not next year.
Thank you so much, Audrey Tang from Taiwan.
Thank you so much.
The First Minister of Digital Affairs. זו הייתה השיחה שניהלנו עם אודרי טנג, שהיא מסיימת בימים אלה 8 שנים בתפקיד של השרה לעניינים דיגיטליים. דבר מרתק, דברים מרתקים ששמענו כאן לגבי הדרך שבה צריך להתמודד עם דיסאינפורמציה ועם פייק ניוז. והם עושים את זה בטיוואן, כי יש להם את המפלצת הגדולה של סין שיושבת להם על הווריד כל הזמן ומנסה לסכסך ולפרק את המדינה שלהם. סיימנו, פייקלנד, הפרק ה-20 מגיע לסיומו, המכון למחקרי ביטחון לאומי וקרן קונרד אדנאואר ואני עטילה שומפלבי אומרים לכם תודה, נשתמע בפרק הבא. בינתיים, שימו על עצמכם להתראות.